There's growing tension within the roster, unexpected names starting to attract attention, and some situations that could divide fan opinion. Some moves seem brilliant at first glance, others raise serious doubts. And believe me, what I'm about to reveal will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the Dolphins. But before I explain everything, be sure to like the video right now, but only if you truly believe this team is on the right track. And I want to hear from the true optimists. Go to the comments and write, "I believe in the Dolphins." Let's see how many fans still trust this team, no matter what happens. Now let's dive straight into what's unfolding. The Dolphins made a wave of undrafted free agent signings, and while these names may not grab headlines like first-round picks, there's real potential hidden in this group. Leading the conversation is defensive lineman Rene Kanga, and this is a name you should remember. Kanga wasn't just another college player, he was widely viewed as someone who could have easily been drafted, even carrying a 5th to 6th round projection. What stands out immediately is his athletic profile and explosiveness. At 6 feet 4 inches, 300 pounds, combined with impressive speed and a 37-inch vertical, he brings a rare blend of size and burst that fits perfectly with what Miami looks for on the defensive front. But it's not just physical traits. His production backs it up. A 14.7% pass rush win rate placed him among the top interior defensive linemen at the college level, ranking 4th among players with significant snaps. That's elite company. He's quick off the line, disruptive, and capable of creating pressure in multiple ways. If you're looking for a UDFA who could realistically fight his way onto the 53-man roster, Kanga is right at the top of that list. Then there's running back Le'Veon Moss, a player who might be flying under the radar but could surprise a lot of people. Injuries have limited him, only 9 games in 2024 and 7 this past season, but when he's on the field, the production is undeniable. 16 touchdowns across 2 seasons and nearly 6 yards per carry show just how explosive he can be. He's not the fastest or most athletic back in terms of raw metrics, but his contact balance and ability to break tackles stand out immediately on tape. There's a certain toughness to his running style that makes defenders struggle to bring him down cleanly. What makes Moss even more intriguing is the context of Miami's current roster. He wouldn't need to carry a heavy workload, which could actually work in his favor by reducing injury risk. In the right role, his skill set could translate effectively to the NFL level, giving the Dolphins another weapon in their backfield rotation. Another name gaining attention internally is defensive back Louis Moore. At 25 years old, he's an older rookie, but don't let that fool you. His game is built on instincts, discipline, and physicality. He's not the most explosive athlete, but he compensates with intelligence and effort. He reads plays well, reacts quickly, and isn't afraid to get involved in the run game. Add in his special teams experience, and suddenly you're looking at a player who could carve out a role simply by doing the little things right, something coaches value highly, especially when building depth. And then you have Mason Ryer, an edge player with serious upside but also significant risk. His athletic profile is impressive, and his pass rush win rate shows he can be effective. However, injuries have been a major concern, including missing an entire season. If he can stay healthy through training camp, though, he has the explosiveness to push for a roster spot, especially in a position group that could use more depth. On the offensive side, Kevin Kline brings size and familiarity, having worked with Miami's offensive line coach previously. At 6 feet 7 inches, he's a massive presence, but still very raw. He'll need development, but the physical tools are there. Meanwhile, interior lineman Jim Bonifaz didn't allow a single sack last season, which is a strong indicator of his pass protection ability. Still, competition at his position means nothing is guaranteed. Now, one of the most polarizing additions has to be quarterback Mark Gronowski. His winning record in college is impressive, and his athleticism stands out. But when it comes to throwing the football, there are serious concerns. Inconsistent accuracy, hesitation in decision-making, and missed opportunities show up clearly on tape. That said, there's an idea floating around that Miami could use him in a unique, hybrid role, something similar to how versatile players are used in creative offensive packages. It's not a guarantee, but it's an intriguing possibility. And that's what makes this entire UDFA class so fascinating. There's talent, there's upside, but there are also question marks everywhere. Some of these players could become hidden gems, while others may never see the field in a meaningful way. The competition during training camp is going to be intense, and with limited roster spots available, every snap will matter. And this is where things get even more intense for the Miami Dolphins as we look ahead to what's coming next, because training camp is going to be a battlefield for these undrafted players. There are no guarantees here, and if anything, the margin for error is razor thin. Every rep, every snap, every special teams play could be the difference between making the roster or being cut before the season even begins. Let's go back to the names that are really generating buzz internally. Rene Conga isn't just a feel-good story anymore. He's starting to look like a legitimate candidate to crack that defensive line rotation. When you look at the current structure of the defensive front, Miami doesn't have unlimited depth. That opens the door for someone like Conga, who already proved at the college level that he can win consistently against high-level competition. If he carries that same explosiveness into camp, it's going to be very difficult for the coaching staff to ignore him. Now here's something that might surprise some fans. Even with all the hype around Le'Veon Moss, there's a real possibility he doesn't make the final roster. Not because he lacks talent, but because the running back room is already crowded. You've got established names ahead of him, and unless he clearly separates himself, the numbers game could work against him. That's the harsh reality of the NFL. Talent alone isn't always enough. You need opportunity, timing, and sometimes even a bit of luck. Lewis Moore, on the other hand, feels like the kind of player coaches fall in love with during camp. He's physical, disciplined, and brings value on special teams, which is often the fastest path for a rookie to secure a spot. And let's be honest, the safety group needs help. That alone could give Moore a real edge. He may not be flashy, but he plays smart football, and that matters a lot when you're trying to build a reliable defense. Then there's Mason Ryer, and this is where things get really unpredictable. If he stays healthy, he might be one of the biggest steals in this entire class. His athleticism and pass rushing ability are exactly what Miami needs off the edge. But that if is massive. Injuries have already derailed parts of his career, and the Dolphins simply can't afford to invest in someone who isn't available. Still, if he shows up in July and August fully healthy and performing, don't be shocked if he forces his way into that final roster conversation. Now let's talk about one of the most debated projections coming out of this group. The idea that more than 2 undrafted free agents could make the roster this year is already being called a hot take. Last year, not a single UDFA made the initial 53-man roster. That tells you how difficult this climb really is. But this year feels different. The competition across several position groups isn't as locked in, and that creates opportunities. There's a growing belief that 3 names in particular could break through: Rene Conga, Lewis Moore, and Mason Ryer. It's a bold projection, but when you analyze the roster gaps and the skill sets these players bring, it's not unrealistic. Conga fills a need on the interior defensive line, Moore brings stability and special teams value in the secondary, and Ryer offers upside at a thin edge position. If all 3 deliver during camp, Miami might not have a choice but to keep them. But here's where I want to challenge you as a fan. Are we maybe overhyping this class? It's easy to get excited about potential, especially in the offseason when every player looks like a breakout candidate. But history tells us that most undrafted players don't make it. So the real question becomes, is this group truly different, or are we setting expectations too high? Because if even one of these players turns into a reliable contributor, that's already a win. If 2 or 3 make the roster and actually produce, then we're talking about one of the most impactful UDFA classes this team has had in years. And that brings us to the bigger picture. The Dolphins are quietly building depth, competition, and internal pressure across the roster. No one's job is completely safe, and that's exactly the kind of environment that can push a team to the next level. But it also means tough decisions are coming, decisions that will spark debates all across the fan base. So now I'll leave you with this. If you had to bet on it today,